Have you ever had a reed that works pretty well? It's balanced. You like the feel of it. It's just a little bit not resistant enough. A little soft, as we tend to say. Vandoren has come up with a solution. Welcome to Clarinet Ninja. Today we're talking about kind of a revolutionary thing in my mind, and that is a reed trimmer that will clip the tip of your reed off to help you get a reed. Maybe you've used it for a long time and it's lost a little bit of its resistance, to get it back and get a little bit more life out of that reed. Or perhaps you've worked on a reed a little bit too much and you've gone a little too far and you want to bring it back just a little bit. That has been something that I have been unable to accomplish in my career as a clarinetist. And Vandoren, I don't know how recently, quite honestly, it's new to me, this device, this particular reed trimmer that does an amazing thing. When you clip a reed with a standard old-time reed trimmer, it's a generic tip shape. And that may or may not be related to the tip shape of the reed that you are using. And now that becomes somewhat problematic for me because, number one, it's never worked for me. And number two, you're changing too much of the geometry of the reed, in my estimation, for even to conceive of it working. Vandoren has done a thing, let me show you, with this. This is a reed trimmer that is for Vandoren V12 reeds. That's what I use. So I have this one. They make it for every cut of reed that they have. I believe they make it for the traditional, they make it for the 56, they probably make one for the V21. I believe they have one for each style of reed that they play. So this is a very, very specific tool that really is for somebody who knows what reeds they're playing and wants to invest in a tool that does what nothing else does. And this reed trimmer retains the shape of the tip of the reed that you're using. And to me, that opens up a whole set of possibilities that didn't exist before. And it's very, very exciting because I always say in my reed videos and in my own reed life, don't go too far because you can't put wood back on the reed, which still is true, but this can mitigate if you've gone too far, or if you have a good reed that's gone a little bit over the edge, you can bring it back a little bit. So let's see. I've got what I would say is a pretty good reed on this clarinet. I probably wouldn't do anything to this in real life, but this isn't real life. This is YouTube, and I'm gonna mess this reed up and see if I can fix it. Let's see what happens. I would probably play it just like this. Maybe it's a little bit too hard for me. This might be a lot too hard for a lot of people, but for me, it's just a little bit too hard. I'm going to go over to my ATG over here, and I'm going to do too much of taking off the tip and see if I can get this to a point that trimming it is a good idea. I just really went after that. Let's see what happens. Didn't do enough. Let's do some more. Still pretty good. Let's see if I can ruin this. This is way more than I've ever taken off the tip of a reed. And what I'm learning just in this little experiment is if the rest of the reed is pretty good and balanced, I guess the tips of my reeds can be a little bit less resistant than I normally would play. Still not enough for the purposes of our example. we're getting there a little bit. I'm just going to take a little bit off the tip of this reed because it's still playable, but I think it's a little bit too open in the tone. It's getting a little spready when I push some air into it. This is still a playable reed. I'm going to do some more. All right, so here we are. This is just a little bit wide sounding to me, and I want to get a little bit more of an ability to push it the way that I want it without the sound spreading. There's a little bit of an open sound. So let's see what I can do with my reed trimmer. This comes in a beautiful box. And as things go, there's a box inside the box. And here we go. Here it is. I'm going to put it inside this reed trimmer, and I'm going to do not a lot to the reed. All we do is we put it in here, and we can move it up and down with this knob. I'm going to do a full demonstration of this in just a minute. And then we twist the knob at the top, and it clips just a small, really a small part of the reed off. Let's take a look and see how this reed trimmer works. Put the reed inside this little carriage. It reminds me of what I used to put my foot in when I got my shoe size taken when I was a boy in Anchorage, Alaska. And then we move this knob, and it slowly and evenly moves the reed up. This knob moves the reed ever so slightly right and left. I quite honestly don't know why that knob is there. I don't think I'll ever use it. But, you know me, maybe someday. All right, so we're going to move this up to the first hash mark. You can see right here that there are hash marks to push the reed up just a little by little. And then when we're ready, we twist. I don't believe anything came off. Those are reed trimmings from my last efforts learning how to do this. Nothing's coming out. Okay, so this reed is still intact. Let's move it up to hash mark number 2. That cut off just a little bit. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. I don't know if it's going to come out of here. All right, now we're going to try the next hash mark up. Since nothing came off this, we're still going to use this reed. I think something came off there. There it is. That skinny little piece right there. All right, so now let's get a different reed in here. We will move it up one more hash mark. When I've noticed when I put reeds in here, the V should be at the bottom of this knob. That really helps to allow the reed in. The way this works is this piece comes down and clips off the reed. So we need clearance there, and we get the most clearance when the V is at the bottom. All right, enough talk. We're going to go back to clipping. All right, let's see what we got. There it is. A little bit more coming off the reed now. And take a fresh reed. See how much comes off when we move it up one more hash mark. And there's our friend there. This is starting to take a lot off of the reed. Let's go ahead and do another one up one more hash mark. Let's see how much we get here. Yeah, that's a lot. All right, so let's just do a couple more. This is getting to a zone in which I would probably never clip this much off of a reed. This would be making quite a serious change in how they play. Be more careful than that when you put in your reed. Oh, there it is. That's a lot right there. We've got 2 more hash marks. We might as well just close this out. See what we can do. Yep, that's a lot of tip coming off the reed. And I feel like maybe my adjustment is not quite centered on this knob here. I have to take a look at that. And now we're doing the most we can do. The most we can do. There it is. That's a lot of reed coming off. So that is the parameters of how much of the tip of the reed this will cut off. Now let's dig into why you would want to do it and what difference it's going to make in your reed. I'll hold this up, do a close-up. So it's retaining exactly the same shape of the tip of the V12 reed. I mean, we're talking nuanced differences and maybe not the type of change that is particularly audible to the listener, but I promise you this feels better to me. All right, I'm going to do just a little bit more. I'm going to move it up 1 notch. You'll see the difference in the notches that I'm talking about. Move this reed just a little closer so that it takes just a little bit more off the tip. Probably only need to twist that once, but I twisted a lot. And now I've brought this reed back to, ironically, where it was before. So this is really, to me, the missing link in my reed work, which is I can take it off, I can balance it. Whenever we balance a reed, we're taking it off. We're taking wood off of in order to do that. And when we balance the tip with the ATG, by the way, I've done a whole video on my process with this prior to having this reed trimmer, but my process is pretty much the same. The reed trimming, this actually works well, which is completely different than when I used to use a Harrison reed trimmer. Great, I'm not trying to throw shade on the Harrison reed trimmer. It just doesn't give me what I want. I mean, it used to be that people used a quarter and burned the tip off of their reed. But again, a quarter is not the right shape either. So whenever this tip shape is changing, we're creating a variable that we don't need. All right, so I'm going to put some links in the description for you to go ahead and buy one of these if you are so inclined. I'll put a link for the V21, the 56, the V21, and the traditional. I think they have all of those. I'll put them down in the description. If this is a tool that would be useful to you, I highly recommend this. I think that this is possibly the best new clarinet product I've seen in a long, long time. It takes a reed back to where I want it to be. It allows me nuanced, very small adjustments to do it because, again, if your reed's way too loose, if it's not resistant enough, it's going to be hard to bring that back. But if you're dealing with small gradations and what it is that you want, this tool is amazing. Each one of these tools is for a specific cut of reed. So it's not one size fits all, which is what makes it work. Thanks for being here, Clarinet Ninja. Keep practicing, get some good reeds. Have a nice time. I'll see you next time.